I've always said that as a creator, it's really important to have several income streams that you can rely on. Having only one stream of income can be risky, so it's important to earn money across different platforms. And today we're going to be looking at a specific stream of revenue that you can start earning as soon as you start your social media platforms. Whether you have a YouTube channel, an Instagram, or a TikTok account, it doesn't matter, and this income stream can be utilized in conjunction with any social media platform. So the income stream that we are going to be focusing on today is selling merch, and I think that it's a really important one for any content creator to consider, along with their other streams of revenue and potentially being able to sell your own products. But if you're new here, hi, my name is Kaylee and I'm a beauty and fashion photographer based near Sydney, Australia. But I'm also a content creator, and I started this channel a few years ago to talk about all things business, social media, freelancing, and content creation. And as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about how you can launch your own merch store and why this is such an important stream of revenue to have as a content creator. But first off, we're going to start with a really important tip for selling your merch or products, and that is that domain names really matter. In fact, it's actually a really big deal, and it's the face of your brand. So if you're not sure what a domain name is, it's essentially a website address. A memorable and creative URL can make your merch store stay at the front of people's minds. Many top creators already know this, and that's why their URLs are memorable, but they're also very fitting of their brands. And that's why I'd like to thank today's video sponsor, .store Domains. Make sure to stay tuned during this video and grab yours. So diving in now to how you can get started with launching your own merch store, and I feel that this is something that I should have done a long time ago as a content creator. I think a lot of the time merch stores are kind of presented to content creators only if they have a bigger following, and I think many content creators are also worried if they're a bit on the smaller side with a smaller audience that they're not going to have enough people purchasing. But I think that this is a really common misconception, and you'd be really surprised at how well merch can sell for smaller creators. I also think that it's a really wonderful stream of income to kick off straight off the bat when you start your YouTube channel or when you start your Instagram or your TikTok, whatever social media platform or online platform you're utilizing, a merch store can really go hand in hand with that. And it means that you can start earning money from the get-go, and you don't have to wait, for example, until you get monetized on YouTube or TikTok or wherever else online. A lot of the time for those kinds of things, there's a lot of waiting involved, and it could be years before that even happens. So really getting a merch store set up early on is a very, very good idea. I also think that especially as creatives, it's nice to have another little outlet where we can sell our own products and have our own designs on there. And many of these merch platforms today make it really easy for you to do so. So we're actually going to go through that in the first step, which is to choose your merch creation website. Now, there are many merch websites out there now, which is really wonderful because it actually gives you many different options to choose from. And this is really going to depend on what you want to sell, what products you want to create. Not every merch creation store is really set up the same way. They might be similar in their functionality, but in terms of maybe the products that they offer and what you can actually sell, they can be very different. So it's important to do a little bit of research initially, go through some of these websites and have a look to see what you feel would suit your brand and your business the most. As I mentioned, there's many different merch creation websites out there now. For example, there's Teespring, Printful, Spreadshop, Shopify, Gelato, and you can even use an e-commerce platform on Squarespace. So at the end of the video, I'll be going into this a little bit more, but I've recently launched my own merch store, which is really exciting, and I personally chose Teespring to do this. So I have come out with a range of notebooks and also some posters for your home office or your working area. So I personally wanted to find a website that would allow me to do things like notebooks, as I mentioned, stationery. That's something that I really love. It's something that I've always wanted to create in a product and to have my own designs on that. So that was something that was really important to me when I was looking for a specific merch creation store. And luckily enough, Teespring, or Spring as it's now commonly known, was offering the option to sell notebooks. So I really loved that idea. And they also have some really cool other products on there, which I really love the idea of, like phone cases, AirPod cases, desk mats, lots of different tech accessories, which I think is really cool as a creator to be able to put your own designs onto those things. So I do think it's really important when you're at this stage of choosing the merch creation website that you want. Definitely look at the types of products that you want to sell. I'd also be looking into whether you have to pay to use the website or not. It's pretty common for you to not have to pay with certain websites, and instead they will take more of a transaction fee out of your sales, which I think is pretty fair. So for example, with Spring, I actually don't pay anything up front to sell those products. It simply comes through as a transaction fee every time someone purchases a product from the website. So I find that that's a really easy method to use. If you're not looking to invest any money up front, then that's a really good idea to use one of those merch creation websites where you don't necessarily have to pay up front. As I mentioned, it's really important to find out what you really want to sell, even what products you might want to sell in future. I think that's another cool thing to look at, and to see if you can really grow with your merch business online that way. I think that that's a really important factor as well. Step number 2 is to connect a domain. So many of the biggest content creators out there already know that merch isn't just about apparel or selling stationery or other products. It really is also about building a brand. And that also means making it super easy for your audience to find you and buy from you. And we can do this by using a slick and memorable domain name. For example, take a look at this automatically assigned domain I received from Teespring. It's way too long, difficult to remember, and it's hard to tell what the link would lead to. It could be any type of website, and it doesn't fit with the simplicity of my branding. It's also really important that my domain name appears legitimate. Whether it's Mr. Beast, Dude Perfect, Zach King, or even me, we all use a clear and easy to remember .store domain for our merch stores. A .store in your URL essentially tells the world you're selling. If you think about it, for example, Mr. Beast moved from a really long .com address to using www.mrbeast.store. It's his name plus .store, and it doesn't get much more direct than that. As creators, our name is our brand. Add a .store to it and you've got the perfect place for your merch. And the really interesting part of this is it actually helps you to sell more. Websites on .store see up to 2 times more visibility and 87% more clicks. That's a really huge difference. Plus, the easier your URL is to call out, the more your audience will remember it. Adding a .store domain to your merch store is easy. For example, on Teespring, you simply click Add a Custom Domain and enter in your chosen domain. Then navigate to the .store admin area and click List/Search Orders under Manage Orders in the toolbar. Scroll down to Manage DNS and proceed to add your A record and CNAME record using the information provided on the Teespring domain connection area. Then click on Verify Connection and you're all set. So stop settling for those long clunky URLs like this one, because they can hurt your brand. Get a .store domain instead. Buy your .store domain today for only 99 cents by using this link, or click the link in the description box below and use the code to go and get your own .store domain. Brand better, sell more, and join the top creators on a .store domain. Thanks again to .store domains for sponsoring this video. So after you've really figured out the branding elements of your merch store, it's time to move on to the next step. And the third step is to plan your products and what you actually want to sell. Now, I did mention a little bit earlier on, when you are looking at the initial merch creation websites, it's important to think about this at that stage of the process, but it's also important to think about it again, obviously, when you go to actually create your products. You want to know exactly what you're going to be offering in terms of merch. And as I mentioned, notebooks were really a no-brainer for me for my particular brand. I think that I like trying to be organized, and I like writing down my thoughts a lot. And I am very much a creative person, and I think that this comes into stationery a lot with my home office. I love cute stationery, I always have. So I thought that it would be a good opportunity for me to sell some of my own notebooks. So that's kind of what fit in with my own brand. But for you, it might be something like clothing, beanies, hats, t-shirts, hoodies. There are also digital products that you can actually sell on a lot of these websites as well. For example, with Spring, they also have an option to sell photo filters, so presets. You can also sell digital wallpaper, which I think is a really cool thing too. But there's so many different potential products that you can actually sell. So I'd really say to work your brand into this and really find out what is going to be something that will sell well for your brand, and what's something that could be really useful to people who might be watching your channel, and also something that they would love to buy from you. Again, for example, with me being a photographer, I love the idea of offering wall art as well, which is why I've gone ahead and created some posters for sale, because I think that that's a really cool thing for people to be able to put in their home office or even just around their house, especially if they love travel. I love doing travel photography and landscape photography, so I've just started doing this and I can always build upon that. I would suggest suggest early on when you're looking at what products to sell, maybe don't go too intense with this. And I think that it's important to maybe keep it pretty simple. So if you've got a lot of ideas, for example, of what you want to do in a merch store, I think it's good to kind of keep it a bit more simple initially. So if you want to sell clothing, but you also want to sell homewares, or maybe you want to sell stationery as well, maybe just stick initially with a few different things, a few different products, and then you can always build upon that and kind of create a little bit more suspense with people as well if they want to see more products added. For example, I've only just started a notebook range, and I've also done some posters, and I think for now I'm just going to see how that goes and kind of work more products into that. But I do think the smaller sometimes the ranges are, the more exclusive they do feel to people as well. So it's maybe good to think about that while you're thinking about what products you do want to create and how many you want to create, how many different versions. It's really easy with platforms like Spring, for example. You can add a single design to one product, and then it will allow you to easily add it to other products in the process. So that's something that probably a lot of merch stores will offer you. But as I mentioned, as a small creator, it's probably good to keep it a bit smaller first, see what people might want from you in terms of products, and kind of gauge it as you go along. And now we're on to step number 4, which is to add your own designs. So this is actually the fun part, and when you really get into the creation process of everything. And I think this is especially fun for creatives because we already have a lot of artworks or designs and things like that we already have. For me as a photographer, I had many photos on my computer that were sitting there doing nothing, and I felt that this was a nice way to sort of incorporate them into products and actually see them physically on something. And I think it could definitely be the same for many different artists out there. So for example, if you're a painter, or if you're a graphic designer, or if you're a photographer like me, there's lots of different ways that you can add your designs onto these products. And it's really simplified the process I've found so far. So it really is more about your design than it is about having to create a product, and you can really focus on that and easily apply it to products that you want to sell. Now, obviously you can make your designs in lots of different platforms online. So for example, a place that's really good to start is also PicsArt, which is all about graphic design and getting graphics together and making your designs that way. So that's a really good place to start for that kind of thing. But you can also use Adobe Photoshop and Adobe InDesign. Programs like that will allow you to be a little bit more in depth with your designs and how they appear. And that's also another really great way to start as well. Now, a lot of the time you can make these designs as simplistic or as over the top as you want. It's all fitting in with your own brand and how you really want to create these products. And the last step is to set your pricing and to make your store live. So this really is the end part, and working out pricing can be difficult, but a lot of merch stores automate this for you and will give you kind of a going rate. In terms of the notebooks, for example, that I created, there was already an automated rate that was on there, and you can change that to be higher or lower depending on how much profit you want to make from that specific product. In my case, I was really happy with sticking with the amount that was automated because I felt that that was a fair amount of profit for the product that I was selling. And obviously you have to remember that you won't get all of that in profit, as some of that will be for the merch creation site that you're actually utilizing, and that will be their transaction fee. That will also be the costs involved in making the product that will come out of that total amount. So you will make probably a smaller percentage on that, but it is really important to gauge how much you actually want to earn from these products, and especially depending on the designs and how long it's taken you to come up with those designs as well, you can really set that pricing to your liking. And then, as I mentioned, you can make the site live and you can start selling your products, which is really exciting. I've just recently made my merch site live at www.kayleejune.store, and I'm going to consider adding more products depending on maybe what people want to see, what people are buying, and I think more in terms of different tech accessories, because I feel like many different creators need tech accessories. So I really want to be selling products in future and now that are going to be useful to creatives themselves. So obviously the first thing I was thinking of was notebooks. Stationery is definitely my thing, and I loved the idea of creating some notebooks. So I have about 7 different designs for notebooks currently available with images that I have taken personally. Many of them are from New Zealand, and then some are even from Lapland in Finland. I thought that it would be really cute to do something with the Northern Lights on one of them, so I've done that. And most of these designs are also available in poster format as well. So if you want a bit of wall art for your home or office, that's a really good option, and you can purchase the posters and then frame them later however you like and make it look great in your own home. So definitely let me know in the comments what you'd like to see on my merch store in future. If there's any other products that you'd like to see these particular designs on, or anything else in particular, definitely let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear. But I hope you really enjoyed this video today, and thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, make sure you do because I'll be posting a lot more in future. Let me know down in the comments if you're thinking about starting a merch store soon, or if you're unsure which merch site to use for your products. Let me know if you've got any questions below in the comments section. And again, if you're interested in checking out .store domains, there's there's a link in the description box below. But thank you so much as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.